Hi, this is Julissa High, and this is my presentation on Hugo Münsterberg. He lived from 1863 to 1916. So this is just going over what I'm going to be discussing in my PowerPoint. I'm going to talk about his early life, his career, then I'm going to talk about specific contributes to psychology, and then the end of life for him. Hugo Münsterberg was born in 1863 in Danzig, Poland. Both of his parents were fairly successful. His father was a businessman, and his mother was a recognized artist and musician. He was also one of four brothers. Unfortunately, both of his parents died before he was 20. His mother died when he was around the age of 12, and his father would later die in 1880. As a child, he had a wide range of interests. His parents encouraged them to explore other outlets, and he had a strong interest for poetry, music, and art. Hugo began starting out by going to the University of Leipzig. While he was there, he actually had the opportunity to be Wundt's research assistant. His main job while helping Wundt was to study voluntary activities through introspection. It is interesting to note that Hugo and Wundt actually did not agree on how the will was experienced. Hugo was not convinced that the will was involved in voluntary behavior at all. This actually aligned more with James than it did Wundt. After receiving his degree, he was heavily influenced by Wundt to go on to get his medical degree in 1887. After that, he began teaching at the University of Freiburg, where he started a psychology laboratory. There, he will have worked on a couple different works and then caught the eye of James, they will eventually meet at the first International Congress of Psychology in 1889, where they will start a pretty professional relationship. After completing both his medical and doctorate degree, he went on to teach at the university, and there he started the psychology lab, like I had spoke of earlier. He published works on perception, learning, and memory all while he was there. And then in 1888, he published Voluntary Action. And he expressed his ideas about the will and voluntary behavior. He believed that as we get ready to act a certain way, we can confuse our bodily readiness with the will to act. In fact, what we are actually consciously experiencing is the byproduct of bodily activity. After publishing his work, James was very impressed and he received a lot of support from James, while Wundt, on the other hand, criticized him very heavily. James arranged for the two to meet and would later offer the position of director of the Harvard Psychology Laboratory. He would later accept, even though he did not speak English. So at first, it took him some time to learn how to speak English. He would later then go on to go back to Germany, but again would come back. He said he did not feel like he found a very good academic environment for him. And then later, he would become the division chair of philosophy at Harvard. And lastly, he helped create applied psychology, forensic psychology, and industrial psychology. One big thing that Hugo helped was applied psychology. He believed that you should be looking for practical applications. He believed that the goal was to find ways that could be used in the real world. And by doing this, he saw mentally ill people. These people usually had alcoholism, drug addiction, or phobia, and he used the treatments, including the suggestion of improving. Another really big contribution he had for psychology was forensic psychology. He was actually the first to apply psychological principles to legal matters. One big work that he did within this field was he examined the testimonies of eyewitnesses. And he really said that they were unreliable, and this could be the cause of from suggestion, a lot of stress. That can all impact the testimony and causing information or the whole thing to be incorrect or false. Um, it's interesting to note that actually in his own classroom, he would set up elaborate events, and he did that to show that no matter, even if everybody is recalling the same event, there's going to be individual differences, and it shows that testimonies can really be subjective. And one big thing he did not agree with was harsh tactics of interrogation. He did not agree with that. He said that it would create false testimonies and resulting in people confessing to things they didn't do, and people that had mental disabilities. Lastly, he helped create industrial psychology. He was considered to be the first. He wrote things on vocation and learning and the psychology and industrial efficiency. In these material that he wrote, he talked about personal selection, increasing work efficiency, marketing, and advertising techniques. He stressed the importance of individual differences and worked to try to create ways to make things more productive. So, Hugo actually helped a lot in making psychology popular with the public, and this is because he used it for practical uses. People noticed that and that drawn them to it. He was very respected and had a lot of friends and with colleagues and other famous people like Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft. He and his wife were actually invited to have dinner at the White House. End of his life, he began to be viewed very negatively by Americans. He was constantly trying to mend the relationship between Germany and the United States. He was very critical of Americans. It was during World War I, it was believed that he was a spy for Germany with military things. When people heard this, his colleagues stopped talking to him and kind of turned away from him. He later then died on December 16th in 1960. He died from a cerebral hemorrhage, and he actually was just beginning a lecture when it happened. This is my works cited, and this concludes my presentation, and thank you for watching.